Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Students. This is Jackson Mumey. I'm so glad that you're with us today. And I think today's going to be a really interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of times when I'm doing these conversations, it's with students that we had in our course that I got to know pretty well through the mentoring and the conversations and so on. Today, I'm actually talking to a successful California bar taker who I had very little contact with, almost exclusively email. And so this is an opportunity for me to get to know a student kind of after the fact, as you're hearing his story as well. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to hear, because this is really an extraordinary story and success story, and one that I think is going to really inspire a lot of people. Our guest today is Beilal Chatila. And that's terrible. I mean, I'm just like, I'm bad, but I am so glad, Beilal, that you are here with us today. And congratulations on passing the February 2016 bar exam. What's that feel like?
It really feels amazing, undescribable, kind of something that felt so far away from reality. And then I got the results and it was there, and just undescribable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why don't we start by you telling us, our audience, a little bit about your background and how you came to be in a position to take the bar?
Sure. So I went to a law school in Detroit, Michigan, Wayne State University. It's not a top law school, and I wasn't a top student. And I studied for the Michigan bar exam using Kaplan. And after I studied, the first couple of weeks, I was catching certain things, like some of the questions were outdated. There was a question that I did, and I knew it because my background is immigration, and it was an immigration question. And I went back after getting it wrong, and it turns out that they were wrong. It was a 2011. The precedent had changed, and they hadn't updated it. So just like 2 weeks into it, I was not confident at all in my studying through a course that I paid $3,000 for. But I continued, and I followed the program that they set forth. I was doing hundreds of multiple choice questions and submitting essays to them that it seemed like when I got my results back for the essays that I submitted to them, that they weren't even looking at them, because I had submit something that was relatively long, but didn't really address the issues and didn't answer the questions after going back and looking at them. And I'd get a higher grade than something where I'd attack the question and answer all the issues and so forth, and I'd get lower. And right off the bat, I knew that something was wrong. But I just kept moving forward, kept chugging along. I took the Michigan bar exam, and I got married and moved out here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my wife is in law school here at UC Hastings now. And I got my Michigan results back. I wasn't confident, and I failed. So I just said, all right, I'm going to study for the California bar exam. I hadn't heard of Celebration Bar Review. I just Googled, California bar exam practice something, and Celebration Bar Review came up. The first thing that came up was a video by you on YouTube. It was like week 8 or whatever week it was, how, what's going, and I watched the video, and I just sat there, and you were literally telling me what I was thinking and what I was going through mentally, emotionally, physically, in my interpersonal relationships. You were telling me what I was going through. And I was like, okay, here we go.
That's a little creepy, isn't it?
Right. So I looked more into your videos. They were free, and I was like, wow, why is this guy, just giving all of this gold away for free? And I still don't get it. But I watched all the videos. I signed up for one of your courses after a webinar, and everything that you said and everything that was contained in the materials really got me prepared on such a personal level, that I was so confident going into the exam. And every single session that broke after the exam, I was walking out, kind of chuckling and just super confident. Um, and yeah, I got my results and I passed.
And folks, if you're not familiar with the California bar, and not everybody in our audience will be, let me just tell you, the pass rate in California for repeat bar takers generally, but first-time California bar takers, was less than 50%. For people who failed a bar exam previously, that pass rate is under 30%. And so here you were coming from Michigan, from Wayne State, which is, not Harvard, and you hadn't passed the Michigan bar, and now you're taking the toughest bar exam in the country, and you passed. I mean, wow! You beat every odd that there. I mean, all the odds that were there. Wow! I mean, how did that feel?
Just, I didn't. I expected it because I knew I had adequately prepared. It was just the preparation was just so adequate, and I didn't feel like that going into the Michigan exam at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid a couple $100 for your course, and it was just like I was going around and telling people. I was studying at UC Hastings, and I was going around telling people, like, listen, they're telling you that put this deposit down to get this special deal and this and that. And I was just going around and telling everyone, like, Celebration Bar Review. I'm telling you, Celebration. And some people went with it and some people didn't. And it's just like when you have like 85%, of law students taking these big box courses and paying all of this money, it's like, okay, if everyone is doing that, then I have to be doing something else. And that's the advice that I was giving to other students. And it really is what set me apart on the exam day. One thing in particular was the essays. I looked at, I shared the courses with Barbary, with other law students, Barbary, Kaplan, Themis, and I was taking little bits and pieces, to get my essay writing down. And they even in law school, the whole IRAC form, it's too structured to be applicable to every set of facts. And that's what your essay writing techniques and explanations really just propelled me, because I was able to look at every single essay that's been administered before, look at all of the issues. I went ahead and put them in an Excel sheet for the past 10 years. And then I started going back and doing the questions, and in the way that you said, you laid it out. And I was able to just so methodically go through the question without any uncertainty. And the only uncertainty was my substantive knowledge of the area of law. And that's the easiest part. And that's something that, I didn't know because it wasn't stressed enough in the other course that I took. So yeah, it was, as far as the essays are concerned, that's definitely, that was definitely a huge factor. And the multiple choice, you had a question in there that was updated from like a 2014 precedent. And that's really, what impressed me the most about Celebration Bar Review, on the ball.
Yeah, my daughter is our senior editor and California editor, and she's going to love hearing that when she hears this lecture, because that's one of the things she really works on, and it's obviously a big part of what we try to do to make sure the materials are current, and that they work well for people. I'd like you to talk a little bit about what the emotional process was that for you getting back in and studying, and how that process felt to you as you were underway. Can you speak to that a little?
So, getting your results and not being on the pass list is, after all of that work, is the most demoralizing feeling anybody can feel. And For me, just moving out here in a new location, you get that renewed sense of, that renewed urgency and desire to want to study. But for most test takers, that's not going to be the case. And with most test takers, they go back and they do the same thing that they did studying and failing the first time. And for me, even if I hadn't moved out here, if I had just switched courses to your course, I know that that would have been the difference maker in terms of re-energizing me to study. Also, California has the performance exam, the performance test out here, and I did my first performance test, and I was like, I'm gonna fail. Like this, it was so out of my, just 50 pages of words that I had to take and write any of like 10 different legal documents about. Just I wasn't able to do it. And then I looked at your performance test explanations and your videos, and I was like, okay, this is doable. So I started off by not timing myself and going through them and doing them. And like I just kept chipping away at it until 2 weeks before the exam is when I finally got my first performance test down. And within the time, and I went back and checked it, and everything was a-okay. But I would not have been able to get to that point if it wasn't for your videos and your guidance in terms of emotionally what I was going through. There was like 6 weeks left, and I was like doing exactly what you said. I was, it was neglecting everyone and just horrible attitude, and I was able to look at to listen to those videos and just take a step back. And one thing that you said that really resonated with me was that it's not all about you, and that's like, whoa, it's really not. And this isn't the end of the world, and this isn't, it kind of is, but when you put yourself in the psychological mindset that it isn't, and that you're able to, you said go get a job. I actually went and I got a job part-time, and that took from the emotional toll and put my mind really in the right spot.
Yeah. I think it's really fascinating that your wife's a law student and she's still willing to go through this after you've been through the entire process. That had to be a strange experience to have her around and studying and in law school, but not taking the bar exam. Was she a help to you in this process?
Yes. So she had finals, and I think she had civil procedure, torts, contracts, criminal law, and I just sat down with her and studied for finals as if I was going to take the finals. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I recommend that students do, because in law school, as you know, it's more detailed. The tests are more detailed, and you have to be more meticulous about answering those very narrowly tailored questions. And once I was able to do that, and then go back to bar studying, it was just relatively much easier.
Yeah. How much time did you spend on let's say on a weekly basis studying? What would a typical study day look like for you when you were going through?
So when I was nervous and at the beginning, when I was just an emotional wreck, I was doing about 8 to 10 hours. Mm-hmm. That lasted for a week before I got burnt out. And then in one of your videos, you said, it's possible to do 3-4 hours a day. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do 3-4 hours of actual studying. That goes, with the breaks and with everything, that's about 4 or 5 hours. And then as the weeks went on, I was able to take that 3-4 hours and just do it, with one break or with no breaks at all, and build that mental endurance, which is something that the other courses did not even mention. Like, you have to be, it doesn't matter if you know everything, because the third day, the end of the second day, the endurance that's required, you need to possess that. It's either you have it or you don't. It doesn't matter what you know about the material. It's either you have that endurance and you prepared for that long of a test or not. And until you mentioned it, I just right over my head, didn't
Yeah.
even, you know.
That's interesting. So the process and sort of one of the things that I got from the email correspondence that we had was how teachable you were. I mean, you were open. If I said try something, you didn't go, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. You were really open to trying it. How did you get that attitude to be so open and teachable and willing?
Well, I mean, you were the master to me, and I because I'm teachable regardless. Like I was teachable with the Kaplan course,
Mhm.
but that led me to nothing. And you know, if the teacher, if you really believe in the teacher, and in our case, I really did believe in everything you said, and I did everything you said to the T. It just flows, and everything just, you know, all the pieces to the puzzle just start coming together, and you don't see that until, you know, maybe a month before the exam. You don't really see the pieces to the puzzle really coming together, and all of that advice and all of that wisdom just really coming into play until, you know, maybe a month before the exam. So that was huge for me.
Yeah, I want to just emphasize that because there are a lot of people that I think that don't recognize what you just said, which is that it doesn't all come together until near the end. And so you may be feeling like, well, it's one thing here and one thing here and one thing over here. But when it starts to come together, it's pretty powerful. And I think you're a great example of how that just being patient and just leaning into it made it work for you. Um, that's terrific. Um, what advice would you offer to somebody who's just now getting ready to take their exam? They're 60 days away and they're not quite sure what to do or how to go about doing their studies. What would you be saying to them about the exam?
I mean, if they were in your course or not, because the first thing I'd say is get in this course.
Okay, I like that. I like that, but that's
Step
very
one,
good.
step
Yeah.
one, celebration bar review.
Right.
Step two, really just kind of let go. I don't want to give any drug references, but just let go and let it, you know, carry you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no Molly. Okay. So just getting in and working hard, being focused, keeping this really positive attitude that you had, which I thought was incredibly helpful all the way through. One of the interesting things to me about what you did, Beilal, was that you did not order our most expensive course. You didn't have all the bells and whistles. You really were doing it on a pretty modest budget. And I have people sometimes say to me, well, you know, would that course work? I mean, don't I have to spend $5,000, $10,000 to pass the bar? What's your response to that?
So I didn't want to mention that I paid $79 a month for 2 months,
Yeah.
but the materials contained in that package were just, to me, worth $2,000 to $3,000.
Yeah.
So what we think of $2,000 to $3,000 worth of material is, you know, what Kaplan offers, and everything they offer, and some, and a lot more for 79, you know, $80, $100, whatever it was.
Mhm.
To me, you know, I moved out here from Michigan with my wife. You know, we're on a tight budget, and you know, we're very, you know, we had to make do with what we had, and the 79, you know, $100 course was just huge for me because I couldn't afford $1,000, $2,000. That was just out of the question. I had already spent $3,000, you know, with Kaplan, so.
Yeah, you know, and we obviously offer a range of courses and prices, and this was at the bottom end of the pricing, and it's not for everybody. But I think it's instructive to see that you can pass the bar exam, the toughest bar exam in the country, even with that course, if you're willing to do what we ask you to do. And so I think you're a great example when somebody says, well, I just can't do it unless I spend a lot of money. Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's all about how you approach it and what you're willing to do, right?
Yeah, and supplementing all of that stuff with all of the free things that you offer, and I was, you know, I throughout the process I was like, you know, did they make a mistake here? Did they send me too many materials?
Yeah.
Why is this free? You know, like I was really confused, But and you can go back and look at the emails I was sending you, like just
Yeah.
thank you, like
Yeah.
just thank you, and yeah, it was huge for me.
Well, and I guess I need to respond to that. That wasn't a mistake. Our philosophy of business is that we really believe in the law of givers gain. That by helping good people get into the bar, by doing good things, that's going to expand. Word expands, and truthfully, our business has grown over 20 years by people just being incredibly loyal to us and recommending their friends and family and coworkers, and and finding the right course for them. And so, to be able to share in your success today, and for you to be able to share that success with other people, just means the world to us. And so that's a good value as far as we're concerned. Um, when you were thinking about the bar and getting involved in studying at this point, what concerns did you have about, here's what's happened to me in Michigan, I'm now taking this really tough exam here in California. What were you thinking to yourself? I've got to do differently than what I did before.
Well, first, I thought it wasn't. I just mentally wasn't capable, and that was my biggest concern. I graduated law school with like a 2.9 average. I wasn't the greatest student. In law school, I was doing a lot of organizing and activism and this and that, and I really wasn't focused on getting the top grade in the class. And what I want to say to viewers is that you could go into this, I swear, you can go into this not having any knowledge about the law, or about, you could have not taken a single law school class, and still pass the bar exam, and still have the aptitude to at least do well. And I, didn't release the grades, didn't release the actual score if you pass here, but like I crushed it. Like I seriously feel like for the multiple choice, there was like 5 questions of the like 200 questions that I just didn't feel certain about. The essays, I feel like I just 10 out of 10 or nines. Like I just feel like I destroyed it. And for someone like me, like a lot of like in high school, I had 180 absences my senior year. I swear, I graduated high school with 6 D minuses. My principal in high school told me that he just wanted me out of the. He told me, he referred to me as hell on wheels, and he just wanted me out of the school. And I went into college not knowing what a thesis sentence was, just not having the adequate education, and I had to play catch up. That first year of college, and being an English major and choosing something that is most that I have no knowledge about. Like I didn't know how to write a paper, and I didn't know. I had never read a single book, not a single book. And that's just a testament to, if you really put in the work and you really follow a program, and you really know where you are and know where you have to be is most important, then you'll definitely be able to pass. It's just a standardized test at the end of the day, and you have to have that mentality in approaching it.
Yeah. Well, gosh, my hat's off to you. My fedora is tipped to you. Um, so you pass the bar, you get the results. Tell us a little bit about that moment when you see your name on the pass list and what happened right after that.
So I was at work. I work at a nonprofit now, and I was at work, and we were preparing for this big gala. We had Vanita Gupta being honored. She's the head of the Civil Rights Division, and it was all hands were on deck. So I was like, I'm gonna stay at work, and I'm not gonna think about it. And as soon as I got done with work, it was like 5:30. I was coming home. The results were being released at 6, and I ran into a friend, my neighbor over here, and I just sat down with him and I talked to him, and we smoked cigarettes and talked. And before I knew it, it was like 6:30, and I wasn't even thinking about it. And I told him I'm gonna go, and by that time there was like 4 or 5 guys around, and I was like, I'm gonna go check my results, and they were like, you passed. I was like, I know, and I just went in, and me and my wife checked it, and
That's
I was
awesome.
on the list. Yeah.
That's awesome. What a great story. So now, as a member of the California Bar, are you planning to continue to work in nonprofit, or do you have other plans for your law degree?
So I'm a legal fellow right now, but I'd like to open up shop. I speak a couple languages, and I've done, immigration, business, real estate, contract work. I've done a bunch of areas of law, so I feel like I want to open up shop. I
Cool.
definitely.
Cool.
And I
Practicing with
went
your
to law
wife?
school.
Practice with your wife at some point?
Yeah, she just finished her 1L.
Okay.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. But yeah, I went into law school. I chose to go to law school because I didn't want to work for anybody.
Yeah.
And I have social justice aspirations as well. But day by day, taking it one step at a time. That's where I want to be.
That's great. Well, Beilal, I'm so proud of you. I'm so pleased for you. And I think that your story is just going to inspire so many people who are discouraged and feel like, oh, I just can't do it. And I don't have the money. I can't get a big bar review course. I don't know what to do or how to do it. And I think they're going to be just like going nuts when they see this interview. It's like, whoa, he got all those D-minuses in high school and, came out and
If
took
I
the
can do it, anybody can.
Well, I don't think I put it quite that way, but I mean, still, it's pretty darn impressive. I just want to thank you for your optimism and your encouragement to us during this process. We loved in our office your emails and your enthusiasm for the process, and that's great. It means a lot to us as teachers to get that kind of feedback. But I have no doubt you are going to be immensely successful as a member of the bar. You just seem to be that kind of a guy. And listen, you already beat the toughest odds that are out there just in passing this exam. So we really, really wish you well. Do you have any final words of advice that you'd like to share with anybody that's watching or listening today? Anything that you think we've not talked about, but you want to make sure that they hear?
I just really want to reiterate and stress the fact that even if you have the money and even if you have the time and the resources and your parents are judges and lawyers, if you want to assure your success, even before the results come out, and be confident, because you can pass the test, but the time between you take the test and you getting your results, that uncertainty will kill you. Like the stress is just too much. But if with Celebration Bar Review, it was just full confidence going in, walking out, waiting for my results. It was just full confidence. And if I can have that confidence, that level, then, and that peace of mind, to me, every student should be able to have that. And I hope that they do.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks again. I'm so appreciative that you spent the time and shared your story with us today. I know people are going to want to follow up and see how you're doing and check in. So want to thank all of you who are listening and have been regular followers and listeners. I hope you're enjoying and finding these conversations as enlightening as I find them. And I mean, just getting a chance to meet people like Beilal is just amazing, and I love it. So thanks to all of you. We're going to sign off for today, and we'll be back to you again soon with another episode in our podcast series and on our Hangouts with Successful Bar Exam students. Thanks, Beilal. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mumey.